What's up, YouTube? Brian here, back again with another high-end rod review, and today we're going back into G Loomis land. That's why I'm rocking the G Loomis troll hat, fanboy hat, whatever, the tournament hat. When you spend $600 on rods, you gotta let everyone know that you use G Loomis, right? You gotta have the stickers on the truck, you gotta have the stickers on your windscreen, you gotta have the jersey, you gotta let everybody know you drop money on rods, right? Anyway, sorry to troll the G Loomis fans out there, but anyway, today we're going to talk about a rod that's been around. This model might be older than one of my kids. This rod has been around a while in the G Loomis lineup. This is the 822S DSR, and the DSR stands for drop shot rod. This might be one of the earlier, outside of some of the Megabass rods and the JDM rods, this might be one of the earliest like true drop shot rods to kind of hit the mass market. This came out when drop shotting was just starting to get popular here. It'd been popular in Japan for a while. US anglers are getting into it. G Loomis developed this rod, and they haven't touched it since. The DSR, this model, I wish I knew exactly what year this came out, but it's been many years. And this model, they haven't touched it. Just like G Loomis, once they drop a model, they just keep making it every year, same specs, same length, same everything, same components. They just never touch it. They just keep making more and more and more. So this 822 DSR that I have is a little older of a rod. It's not one of the newest, latest, greatest ones. This rod has been through the ringer. I picked this up used last year from a friend of mine who gave me a great deal on it, and just because I wanted to try this rod. Because you read online like, oh, what's the best drop shot rod? This rod almost always comes up. So I want to see what was so special about it. So I'm going to try and keep this review brief. I say that all the time. I know it's not really possible for me because I ramble. But anyway, so I don't want to go on a full rant about G Loomis. You can read or watch my NRX 873C review. I'll link it up in the corner. I talk about what, the brand and the pricing and how to get deals on them and the guides. I go on a full G Loomis rant in that other video. So I'm going to save that for this video. Let's just talk about this particular model. So there's pros and cons with this rod. Now, this rod is dainty. I mean, this rod is so light. This is literally the lightest spinning rod I've ever owned in my life. This thing weighs in at 2.96 ounces. So this is a sub 3 ounce rod. The whole rod, sub 3 ounces. And this thing is a 610 medium mag is what the G Loomis calls it. To me, it's a medium light. If you ask anybody, it's a medium light. This thing has what they consider to be a mag action. And mag means, we'll talk about the action in a second. But anyway, this thing is stupid light. So you want to, when you buy this rod and you're going to put a reel on it, you want to make sure you're putting on a lightweight reel, like a Stratic CI4, the new Stratic Vanford, Shimano Accents, Daiwa Tatula LTs, Ballistic LT, Kage LT. You want a really lightweight reel to go on this rod, because when you get this thing with a lightweight reel, the whole package itself is just feather light. It's really pleasurable to hold, and especially when you hand it to people, they're like, "What the? This thing is like crazy light." So anyway, so plus side, very light, extremely light. Now, the action on this thing is really unique, and I think that's something people don't really understand until they actually hold one of these or play with it in the store or they buy one, is that this rod is really light. So the action on this rod, the bend goes literally, like I'm not going to do a bend test on this rod because it's so light. There's not even enough weight on the butt of this thing when I kind of hold it out and do the bend test. It doesn't even flex the blank fully because this thing is so light. So a flex test on this thing doesn't really show the true action. But this thing has a fast tip. In other words, the tip on this rod is really bouncy and flexy, and then it looks like it kind of hits a power spot right here, but that's not the case. This thing has a really light tip, and then a mag medium kind of flex all the way down, literally to here, to the thread wrapping right here. This whole blank flexes. Like, you can flex this part of the blank. It flexes all the way up the tip. Literally, this entire rod flexes. So when you fish drop shots on this thing and you hook into a fish, like I caught a 4+ pound largemouth out from under a dock on this rod, the whole rod bends over. I mean, it doesn't even hit the power in the blank till like right here at the handle. So if you catch a big fish in shallow water on this rod, hold on to your butt, because it's going to be an exciting fight. This rod, it really bends. So because this rod is so light, I don't like throwing heavier drop shot weights on this thing. And I also don't like casting with this rod. So when you buy the 822 DSR, What you're buying is a very light, extremely parabolic rod. I mean, for an NRX, this is probably the most parabolic rod that NRX has in the entire lineup. This is A22 DSR. The bend literally goes all the way down the blank, past the first guide. You're getting a nose hooking, vertical drop shot rod. So if you're drop shotting ledges, right underneath the boat, not too far out, and you're fishing deep and you're pretty much close to the boat, that's what this is for. You do not want to fish this rod around grass where bass can run into the grass. You're not going to have enough power to really horse them out. If you're fishing open water, you're fishing rock piles, you're fishing vertically under the boat, that's where this rod shines. This is definitely a, hey, I just want to open the bail, drop a weight down and shake, or catch them right off the sonar, like video game fishing. That's what this rod I feel was designed for. This is not a rod you're making a real long cast with in deeper water and then kind of doing that drop shot thing of like letting it sit out and let that robo room just sit, and then like the lift and drop and like lift and drop. This tip is so damn whippy. You're going to put a lot of action onto baits when you don't really intend to. So I don't love this rod. It doesn't really fit my style of drop shotting, but it does fit a lot of people's style. So if you're a vertical drop shot fisherman and you want like the lightest possible rod you can get for drop shotting, this is it. So the pluses: it's light. It's basically good for one thing. Nose hooking baits. Maybe you could Texas rig this thing, but I mean, use Texas rigged drop shot baits, but you're not going to go by grass. Do not fish this thing on grass. You do not have enough power to wrench those fishes out. This rod will double over and that fish is going to manhandle you, especially if it's a nice sized fish. The good thing about these things is the resale value. I think the MSRP on these things now is $500. They raised the price on all these, so I don't know exact price, but they're over $500 MSRP. You can get these things for 20 to 30% off at almost every single store that sells G Loomis rods. A lot of them are out of stock right now. G Loomis NRX spinning rods are just impossible to find. Shimano's having a really hard time keeping up. G Loomis is having a hard time keeping up demand right now because of COVID. So good luck finding these things. But the nice thing is these things really hold their value. So if you buy this rod used for anywhere from like $300 to $400, you're going to be able to use it for a few years and then sell it for like $300 to $400. These things just don't really drop in value if you take good care of them. So NRXs are always good investment rods, especially if you get into them at the right price point. If you buy them brand new and then you resell them, you're going to take a little bit of the hit, but not very much. These things are just, everybody wants them. You usually have no problem selling a used NRX, especially if you price it accordingly. So good on lightness, bad on technique because it's really just kind of a one technique style rod. Vertical drop shotting off the bow or right close to the boat. Sensitivity, we got to talk about that. So is this rod insanely sensitive? It probably was when it came out. So I've used a lot of NRX spinning rods, and this is actually not as sensitive as like my 852S and my 873S. Those rods are longer, faster, a little stiffer of blank. I can feel a lot more feedback. Because this thing is so noodly, I don't feel a lot of bottom information when I have the weight down, like on rock piles and stuff like that. Bites. You can detect the bites with this soft tip, so when a fish grabs it, you can literally see this thing. It's almost like an ice fishing rod. Like you can see like a tick, 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 like, you know what I mean? So you can visually see fish bite this rod because it's so light. But I'm going to say that to me, I'm sure other people are going to disagree, but the sensitivity on this thing is not like, whoa, oh my God, it's so sensitive. I can feel a fish breathing on it. I didn't have that experience with this thing because it's so noodly. So I would say for an NRX spinning rod, it's the least sensitive of the couple that I own. This is definitely at least less sensitive than like my Conquest 842S. I'd say that some of the other rods I feel are a little more sensitive. This feels about as sensitive as that 610 Shimano X Pride drop shot rod that I had a couple years ago. So I would actually put this pretty much on par with that X Pride 610 medium light. And actually it's kind of similar in action too. So that's all I really have to say on this rod. I'd say sensitivity is not crazy because I think it's so soft. You don't get a whole lot of feedback. It's just this thing is a noodle compared to like, the other NRX spinning rods. It doesn't really fit my drop shot style. I'm glad I got to use it so I could have a frame of reference when I talk about this rod. I'm drop shotting more on the Landsat, which is got a much stiffer action. It still is parabolic, but this thing has a lot more power than the NRX 822. This thing is light. This is a 611 spinning rod. This weighs 3.19 ounces. This thing is 2.96. So this rod is older. This is the new hotness on Megabass, and this old NRX still is lighter than the latest, greatest technology from Megabass. So that's a good shout out to G Loomis, that even though these rods have been around for the better part of a decade, still the bar to beat on weight and lightness and crispness. And Megabass throws all the technology in the world at these things. They're the most advanced rods you can get out in the market right now, and still 0.2 ounces heavier than the old school NRX 822 DSR. This rod is a this rod proves that there's filler on the handles on these things. This rod's been around for years, and there's a lot of filler missing on the cork handles. So the cork on these older rods, I'm guessing that there's been upgrades in the cork since this thing came out, but it does have some filler missing. This thing probably could use a little bit of a wood glue or wood filler addition and sand off, but I'm not going to do that because, you know, I kind of like when these handles get a little bit of a patina on them and kind of show their years. So anyway, that's my review on the 822 DSR. Probably was the king of the hill drop shot rod many years ago when this thing came out, but I think drop shot rods and drop shot technique has kind of advanced and moved on, and this rod is, to me, still stuck in the past where people just vertically drop shot. Now people are casting out, they're pulling, they're fishing grass lines, they're fishing in grass, they're fishing around docks. I think that just this rod doesn't offer enough of a spectrum on ways to throw a drop shot for me to really ever keep this rod in my lineup and to make it a regular part of my rotation. So I hope other people can throw in the comments their experience with this. I know this rod has a following. I know people love it. I'm not saying you're wrong. If you love this rod, great. I'm sure it fits your style of drop shot fishing. But those are my thoughts on this rod. That's all I got. So until next time, we will see you later. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe, and happy hunting if you're trying to find one of these right now. Good luck. Take it easy.